morning. My name is Rachel Carruthers, and I'm the Events Manager here at the Portland Regional Chamber of Commerce. Welcome to Growth Basics for Business, a monthly breakfast seminar series which provides a forum to gain useful do-it-yourself workplace solutions and insightful, actionable tips. This morning is our fifth event of the 2024-25 season of Growth Basics for Business, and I want to thank Eaton Peabody for their continued support of this virtual event series again this season. This morning's topic, The Art of Being, is presented by Elizabeth Ross Holmstrom, founder and Chief Evolution Officer of Mindful Employer. Today, Elizabeth will help us begin 2025 with the purpose of being. In today's world, we have become champions of doing, measuring return on investment, productivity, quotas, key performance indicators, sales revenue, and the list goes on. Why are there not similar measurements for being? And why aren't we tracking the cost of emotional health, stress, burnout, or the human impact of work? In today's highly interactive workshop, Elizabeth will review neurological data, leadership stories, and simple practices to improve being at work. Now, like all of the Chamber's virtual signature events, today's presentation is free and is being recorded. It will be made available for free replay on the Chamber's website and YouTube page. To keep up to date on all the Chamber's news and events, please visit our website, portlandregion.com, where you can sign up for our weekly email newsletter and check out our events page. Before we begin today's program, I just want to remind everyone that we are using a platform named StreamYard this morning. This platform provides improved production and interactive elements that truly enhance our virtual events here at the Chamber. On that note, I'd like to point out that when you have questions for our presenter today, you can type them in the YouTube chat throughout the presentation. Elizabeth will answer questions when appropriate through our presentation. She'll be engaging a lot with the chat this morning. And we'll also reserve time at the end of her presentation for a Q&A session with everyone here. So please do not hesitate to engage in our conversation. At this point, I'd like to introduce Nate Levesque, Director of Marketing for Eaton Peabody, our Growth Basics for Business series sponsor.
Great. Thank you, Rachel. I want to thank the Portland Chamber for doing such a great job of putting these together and providing new and engaging content month after month. I also want to thank our presenter, Elizabeth, for joining us today. Lastly, whether this is your first Growth Basics event or your 10th, I want to thank you for taking the time to join us this morning. For those of you that may not be familiar with our firm, we are a full-service, Maine-based law firm with nearly 40 attorneys serving Maine clients from offices in Augusta, Bangor, Ellsworth, and Portland. We assist companies of all sizes in a variety of industries, so whether you're an established financial institution or a small business taking your first steps, we can help with all of your legal needs. To learn more about the services that we provide in the industries that we serve, please visit our website, eatonpeabody.com. Also, be sure to follow us on Facebook or LinkedIn to stay up to date on legal updates and future presentations. Thank you, and back to you, Rachel.
Thank you so much, Nate. Now, I don't want to take any more time away from our presenter this morning. Plus, I think everyone has heard enough from me anyways. So with that, I'll hand things over to Elizabeth. Elizabeth, lead the way.
Thank you very much. Hello, everyone. Good morning. Super excited to have you here. And I'm very grateful for the Chamber to be talking about this important topic. And thank you, Eaton Peabody and Nate for supporting this, because I believe all of these programs through Business Basics are really, really helpful. I use them all the time. So let's think about the first word, the first way of getting into being, which is arrive. This is the place where being can be brought into every day, because we're starting things every few moments often. And I just want you to think about the word arrive. Let go of anything that has come before this moment and anything that you might be concerned about later today, because that's the first step to being, your true presence. And I'd like you to do me a favor, take your phone, make sure it's off at the moment. This is just going to be 1 hour, 60 minutes out of your 960 minutes that are part of a 16-hour awakeness each day. So it's not that many of the minutes. And if you just to see that the comments are working, can you maybe type in where you are dialing in from, where you're logging in from? Is there anybody out there able to use the chat? And awesome. Thank you. I see Portland, our regional chamber, is here. I'm in South Portland. And today we are going to be talking about some of my favorite topics. And I'm really excited to cover these things with you. And I'm really grateful that you're here. This is important work. And while most people have connected my work with mindfulness, which has been my focus for over a decade now, including the naming of Mindful Employer, lately I've been stepping away from that language. There are now many, many ways of teaching and implementing and understanding mindfulness in the workplace and for our personal growth. But I'm finding at work that these programs aren't enough. After more than 10 years of research and consultation and practice, what really comes into clarity for me is that it's all about being versus doing. It's super simple language. And as Rachel covered at the beginning, we are already experts at doing. And the challenge of that is that singular focus without attention to being has most people living in a state of heightened stress that really never lets up. When I'm talking to people, I talk to hundreds of people during the year, if not thousands. And it's something that is constant in this current world. So there are aspects of being that have tremendous aspect on our experience during the day and our outcomes if we're practicing them regularly. And the three that I'm covering and pointing out today, which has come through my research over the past 10 to almost 20 years, is the power of pause, energy awareness and management, and curiosity. And even more powerful, when we embed these practices into our daily work and operations, they have absolute impact on our outcomes. And we can increase that output and the metrics when we include being in reporting. And that I have not seen much of. So we're going to be sharing quite a bit about that at the end. But first, I really want to talk about the state of where we are today. So too many people, as I said, are not thriving in our doing and constant stress culture, right? These statistics are not old. These statistics are from 2023, and the bottom right corner is engagement from first quarter of 2024 from Gallup. And it's alarming to me I've been a well-being professional, been working on well-being and mindfulness over the past 20 years of my career. And everything that I do, I hope to see these numbers improve. And instead, we're witnessing them go up, or at least, and even if they're not going up, they're staying steady. They're not really significantly going down. And programs don't seem to be moving the needle fast enough, right, for us to really feel the difference. And that's where being comes in. Because we cannot solve our problems with the same thinking that we use to create them. This is one of my favorite Einstein quotes. And I think that the situation that we're in, this is a we opportunity, not a they opportunity in 2025. We can join as a collective of people to change how we experience work and how we experience life. And I have a few ideas to get us thinking about that. So first, if you have access to the chat, and I see other people are chiming in now. We've got somebody here from Sanford and from Portland. Hello, everybody who is now weighed in. I appreciate that. And what I'd like you to think about is, have you had an aha moment in the shower, or while you're out walking, or while you're running, or while you are disconnected? Hello, Wyndham. Great to see you. So have you had an aha moment? When I'm able to have hands raised in a crowd, literally 95, 100% of those hands go up. And that is because there's a reason for that. There's a reason that when we are still and unplugged, that's when we can access our highest wisdom. It is neurologically impossible for humans to access our inner wisdom and our most creative ideas when we are stressed or when we're in constant doing mode. When we're stressed, our amygdala, which is the fight or flight section of our brain, it's engaged in a heightened way, which means that we are reacting with heightened emotions rather than having access to our prefrontal cortex, which is where we can access our experience, our thoughts, and we can access them more rationally, right? We can bring our wealth of experience into the thing that we're doing, whether it's work or whether it's, being at home. So that simple act of short pauses during the day can disrupt our heightened stress, and it creates a calm and a better awareness of ourselves and of situations. So the power of pause cannot be overstated. And I literally was looking back, I have done presentations on the power of pause for probably close to 10 years off and on here at the chamber. And I literally will have people walking up to me years later to say that it makes a difference for them. So I believe that it works. And I want to try to give a little bit of a demonstration, if we can, virtually here today, with what stress is really feeling like, right? And thank you, Malden Events. I see that your aha moments often happen while in the shower exercising. That's exactly right. So we're going to recreate a little bit, and you may not be able to do it in the chat if you don't have access to that, but you can do it, it just in your mind or on a piece of paper, or you can just be thinking about this. So I want you to think about all of the things that you have done since you woke up this morning. And you can even say them out loud to yourself. Think about every single thing that you've done since you've woken up this morning, since you woke up. And it's, we're only 2-3 hours into the day here. So what are all the things? And what are the things that might be in your mind, right? Just in your mind. Hello, Josh. Nice to see you. So think about those things that are constantly coming at us. And so we're in this doing mode of getting all those things done in the morning. And on top of that, what we have coming in are things that we're worried about that haven't even happened yet. Does that feel like, yes, I feel like I lived 100 lives since I woke up this morning. It's true, especially when we start listing it all out, right? And so we have this constant sort of angst always around us when we don't have being practices to center. So I'd like you to now think about just paying attention, let go of the typing and the thinking of all of those thoughts. They'll come at you, but you can just let them bounce off for a moment and allow yourself to just notice where you're sitting. Release all the doing and just notice where you're sitting. Notice your feet on the floor. And I want you to take a deep breath into your belly and slowly let it out. One more time, take a deep breath into your belly and slowly let it out. And now, if you'll trust me, I want you, if you're comfortable to close your eyes, you can. Or if you are not comfortable with that, that's fine. You can just slowly just look at something very softly with your gaze. And I'm going to count a short amount of time silently, and then I will give you a little signal. So I'm asking you to just be quiet for a moment. Unplug from everything. Please put your phone down and just be, starting now. Okay. So I want you to just sense in to how you feel after 30 seconds of silence versus how you feel when you're in constant doing mode. That was just 30 seconds. And as I've done this research and worked with people on pause, by and large, 80% of us are not taking even 1 or 2 minutes unplugged in a day. That's alarming, really. And so, I want you to see it as alarming, because pause is necessary to engage being. When we fail to pause throughout the day, we're being run by stress and we're in a constant state of reacting. Pause is the one thing that allows us to center with our being, with ourselves. Then we can take a thoughtful next step. And this is where we set ourselves apart from technology and the machines, because we have an awareness that extends beyond our brains. And we can only access it when we're in this state of rest or of suspension, really. So I'm going to talk about one of my favorite stories about a tennis coach. And this tennis coach is coaching, people at the top of their game. They're playing in the Open and at Wimbledon. And the tennis coach is watching reels of the players and trying to help those that are at the just the next level down and not quite in at the top of their game yet. And he's really looking, very intently at how they're playing. And he's not noticing a difference in their physical movements, in their physical presence at the game. And that is when it occurred to him to watch what was happening in the moments between the action. So he started looking at what they were doing in that couple of moments they had before a serve or before receiving the serve, or that, 1 minute that they might have, on the sideline waiting to go back in. And that was the difference. They were able, the people at the very top of their game were able to let go of what had ever happened in the past few seconds, center with themselves, and start again. And that is the key to this, that pause is what we do between our actions. And it's a really beautiful, powerful thing. And here's the thing. I've talked to a lot of people that meditate, and they meditate, maybe first thing in the morning. I meditate in the morning, I meditate in the evening, and people do that. But then they'll go the rest of their day without taking a pause. And that is what is leading to heightened stress and leading to us, in the states of being that I shared with you at the beginning. So this leads me to the next place of awareness and a practice that I would like to share with you. And that is sensory intelligence and energy awareness. We are sensory beings. And yet, when is the last time you talked about your senses, right? Like, we don't really talk about it. We learned about our sense of taste and smell and hearing and seeing and touch when we were in probably elementary school. And our senses carry so much more information if we take time to listen to them. I'm sure many of you have had like a gut instinct about something, right? When's the last time you had a gut instinct, but then you didn't do it? Or you suspended doing it and then the thing happened. Or you were witnessing a pattern or something that was about to happen, maybe at work. And you talked about it, and then people said, oh, we don't have the data for that. And then the thing ended up happening, and they're like, oh, you were right. Because, by the way, data is looking backward. Intuition is looking forward. So try to remember that. Data is helpful. It just isn't helpful when we're looking forward all the time, because we need to combine the data with our instinct to be most powerful at work. And yes, I just saw that it's really hard. We can practice in the morning and practice at the end of the day, but we don't always bring it into work. And that's exactly right. When we create the space for relating with others and working, like whether we're working on a project or in a meeting, when we create space, information will come through you. I guarantee it. It will come through in what you say or what you do, because we house information in our body and in our senses. Our minds and our body and our soul or our senses come together in the form of sensory intelligence. And we rarely talk about that. And yet it's kind of our magic, right? Like it truly is our magic as beings. We're not machines. And I play with machines nicely, but I'm not a machine. So the other thing I want to talk about in terms of energy is that most of the time when we're talking about energy, we're thinking about whether we're tired or not. And while we might race around for a charger when our phone is at below 25% or 20%, we don't really seem to have the same mechanism for noticing our own energy states. We might know it, but we just tell ourselves that we don't have time to deal with it. That is not healthy. So I invite you to pay attention, because that's what leads to thoughtful action. And we can begin to notice the things that notice people or things that drain our energy, and we can do less of that. And we can notice the things that bring us energy, that give us energy, and we can do more of that. It's really, really, like another information system that we often don't house. A book that supports all of this, Better in Every Sense. Thank you. Thank you, Kim. I love that. Better in Every Sense is a book that talks about this in greater detail. So a practice around tapping into energy awareness, of course, it requires pause. So that's where I begin most things. And it's really how we can bring this into the workspace is noticing what kind of energy is needed in any given moment to make a situation better, right? That pause allows us, like we can be in the midst of chaos, but if you can be the person in the room, taking a pause and then making a more intentional step to helping things be better, I guarantee you people will notice that. They notice when you walk in the room with this presence, because it goes beyond your brain. It comes into your whole energy field that is around you wherever you walk. So you can notice what the energy is of others that you're talking with. You can notice the energy of the room that you're walking into, and you can ask yourself before you walk into a room or before you pick up the phone or whatever that is that you're doing, what am I bringing to this conversation? What energy am I bringing to this meeting? Let's say I've been running late all day, right? I've got 2 clients asking for me to get back to them, and I'm expected at a monthly sales meeting with my boss. I can walk into that room in a huff, right? I'm juggling my phone. I'm trying to get back to people. I'm trying to wait for a pause in the meeting so that I can send off a quick note. Like just saying those words, like has my whole heart like tightened right now. Because that once you start practicing the pause, like even when you recognize yourself doing the thing, I may still screw up. I may still be in that doing, chaos mode. The beauty is I notice it faster. When you start, that's all of this stuff is a practice. That's why I've got practice at the top of the slide, right? When we start practicing, so what if I'm present at that meeting and I allow myself to just be there? Perhaps I can listen in a new way without judging what's going on in the meeting, judging how the meeting's being run. Like I was queen of that. And maybe I could just be open to learning something at the meeting, right? And then later when I come out of that meeting and I've just been in that one space and I'm not so frenzied, I might access an aha solution for my client. when I reach back out to them, right? So it's much better to bring our senses along. And that brings me to our third practice. And the third is curiosity. And I am not overstating it when I say that curiosity is your superpower. It truly is. We are part of systems, layered and layered systems, from education to work to just really everything, games. We are trained to and designed to reward knowing over curiosity, for having the right answer, for being the fastest. That is not how human beings are designed. It's fun. I'm competitive. I love to do that. But that is not how we're meant to live, right? We are actually very tribal. We are tribal and we are meant to collaborate. And part of this being work is about unlearning these deeply ingrained patterns that our education and our work environments consistently reinforce. Not because they're trying to, just because that's the system. We built it, right? So we need to unbuild it. We need to find a new way and create a new way as a collective of people to do it better. So we can ask questions rather than always coming to a meeting with the answers, right? I used to love, coming to a meeting and knowing I had the right answer, but I might have had the wrong right answer to the wrong question, because the question has evolved from the time I, saw the topic that we were meeting about to when we walk in the room. So I have a friend who, as a manager, she was always holding meetings. She was holding like weekly or biweekly meetings to help her team. And the format is that anybody could bring an issue that they were struggling with, and then she would help them with the next step, right? And the idea of that was that, most people are, if her team was struggling and they didn't want to bother her or whatever, they might be wasting time because they didn't know what to do next. And so this meeting would help her remove those roadblocks. So I love the thinking of the meeting. However, it occurred to her that this line of thinking of everybody coming to her for the answers was only generating responses from her mind. Let that sink in. So then she shifted it. This wasn't doing another thing. She just shifted the meeting and began asking each person as they came in what they thought the next step or action should be. And not only did this result in much greater variety of creative solutions to customer and operational issues, the meetings were energized because everybody was sharing information. She hadn't even realized or noticed how quiet the other meetings had been in the old ask me, I can help format, right? So the emphasis on curiosity is really powerful because it deeply counteracts our ego's need to control and to certainty, right? That keeps us stuck and somewhat comfortable. When we're genuinely curious, we release our grip on having to manage everything ourselves or having to manage being right. And there's, I want to acknowledge that there's cultures that they want you to be right? Like they don't have a lot of space for you being wrong or for you iterating and testing. And so if you're in that kind of situation, you might have to do some of this on the down low and, in your own space. However, you can maybe start talking about that you heard about this thing at this workshop that you went to today, right? We have to begin having the conversations because there's a connection between curiosity and presence. Curiosity requires us to be fully present in that moment. And it might explain why curiosity is difficult to access when we're caught in this doing mode of stress and responses, right? And I want to point out that this is not an individual challenge. This is not an individual challenge. You are not doing it wrong. Let that sink in. You are not doing this wrong. We are caught in these layered systems that we're part of. And we have to start dismantling them. They are these patriarchal supremacy systems that are designed for us to be workers. And that's not why we're really here on the planet. We are here to thrive together. That's what I believe. And we have to start talking about these systems and noticing these systems that are counter to our being. And when we do that from a place of curiosity instead of knowing, like, hey, I went to this talk and I think that, you might want to watch this video, or you might want to read this book. As, Kim pointed out, like, there's so many there's like 1 million of us doing this work right now because we need to help billions of us through this transition. And so start there, start with curiosity and just bring it up, to someone else in your company and start having these conversations. You can just have talking conversations about what are the stressors and what are the things that we might do to reduce the stressors. Like, start there, because, where does being fit in? And the chat is not quite as accessible to all, so I want to be sensitive to that. But think about something that comes into your mind around what you're doing now that isn't something more to do, that being could help. And I'll say that a little more clearly. Like, I believe that we don't need another thing to do, right? This is what my schedule looks like sometimes, and most often. And yet I don't have the overlaps anymore. Like, I remember when I was at TD Bank, I was head of health and well-being there. And there would be times when I'd have 3 meetings on top of each other, and I'd try to spend like 10 minutes in each. And I know that I'm not alone, and there's a lot of people still doing that. So, that's a place to start. The being, let's just say no to the thing that isn't most important at that time slot and just be present for that one thing. The key is making these practices so simple that they become new habits. And Jed Brewer is an excellent functional MRI researcher. He's out of Brown, lives down in Rhode Island. He's a surfer. He's a really cool guy. And he has given us a lot of information around that. We don't, like, reducing stress doesn't have to be in half-hour sessions. Now, meditation for half an hour is a beautiful thing for connecting with yourself. However, during the course of the day, you can just take these pauses for 1 and 2 minutes for a total of 10 minutes a day to make things better, to reduce the cortisol running through your systems. And I love that, Kim. She said that she found herself the other day, what else can I do while I'm doing what I'm doing? That's it. Like, that gets into my head too. This is what we're bringing this forward. Like, that's what happens. We're like, how can we fit another thing in? One of the things that we can do, this is not another thing to do. This is saying no. Like, I don't know if you guys have been listening to Mel Robbins, but she's putting this beautiful, simple work out there, but powerful work around the let them theory. Look at what you're doing and you could say, let them. This is what's most important to me. I'm going to communicate why. Just let them have their meeting and get back to me, right? We can switch the formats of meetings. We can switch how we respond to meetings. And, for individuals, I have dozens of ways of practices that you can implement throughout the day to get you started in this work of being. These are just 2. Because I find these super simple to implement. So the meeting reset, before you might even do this, now that I'm saying this out loud, you might do this before you accept the meeting. I partnered with our CIO at TD Bank, and we had everybody really ask, what is the meeting about? How long has the meeting been happening? Who's involved in the meeting? Is the meeting the right way to share the information that's being shared in that particular format? Like, would it be better just to have an email or shoot somebody a little video about what your update is, have them all watch it in their own time, and you're done? So start there. But then when you do have to go to a meeting, before clicking join, just take 30 seconds. Feel your feet on the floor. Do what we did just a few minutes ago. Take some breaths. Set an intention to be fully present, because that transforms meetings from task to task rushing to intentional engagement. And your notifications. I get, even if my phone's not on, I'll get a buzz sometimes, or I try to not to have any notifications on my laptop because they're just angst ridden. I know that I can check in every few hours and get back to the people that I need to get back to. People think that they need things right away, but often they don't. And I sat next to an email expert on a plane one time on a flight. And he said, Elizabeth, you can delete every email that's 3 weeks old, because they either found their solution or they'll get back to you. I was horrified by that because I was in sales and I had to track everything. But as I've gone on, he's kind of right. Josh, I'm just reading yours. As often as hard to feel a sense of curiosity when being relied upon. Yes, for answers. But you're learning to say no. Thank you, Josh. Yes. Like, how can we reform it and say no? Like, these are the first steps. And that's why this is called a practice, right? So that notification process, when your phone buzzes, put your hand on your heart. Like, just have that be your first thing. Put my hand on my heart and say, does this need my energy right now? Because that breaks that Pavlovian response to notifications. Here's again, this is not your fault. Every system, every app we have, the smartphones, our computers, they're all designed for dopamine hits, for us to respond. We created these systems. We can pull ourselves away from them and create the space. That's the awareness that I'm talking about. We can also, I believe, and I've talked about this a lot over the last 10 years, working with people trying to adopt these quote unquote programs into their work environments. And that is, leaders have to lead the way. We can do this, with each other. We can, and I think, if you band together with 2 or 3 of your teammates, even if your manager isn't into it, you can kind of start sensing, you'll sense an energetic difference. I guarantee you that energy thing is real. So for leaders, you can have calendar blocks that read strategic thinking time. I need think time. My customer, I wrote an article about this on LinkedIn. Thinking is billable. Your clients are paying you to think, right? It's billable. So block strategic thinking time on your calendar. Start meetings with 60 seconds and call it, optimization protocol. We can develop these new terms for these things of bringing being into work. We can have performance recovery periods instead of breaks, right? We adapt a lot of sports language in our business, but yet we haven't brought in the beauty of recovery periods into work. So, I think it's just about changing our language, helping the people around you change your language. We can use attention management instead of multitasking. Where is my attention right now? Am I trying to do 2 things? Oops, let me go back to the one that's most important, right? And then the energy check-ins. We don't have the little, battery going down like our phone does, but we can sense our energy. And here's the beauty. I lead these meditations, and I'll provide a link in the slides. They're Thursday mornings, are free, and we just check in. We check in for just a couple of moments with where our energy is, and then you can do it through your day. So how do we bring this into embedding it in our work, right? Because I've been grappling with this for 10 years. Because we keep calling it a program. We keep calling, I offer this program, I offer that program, I offer this tool, I offer this app. Being is not a program. Not a program. It's a business imperative, because human beings are 80% of your capital. They create 80% of business assets, beings. And so that's why it's an imperative. And how do you measure it? One way really is this goes back to the research. I don't know if you've heard of conscious capitalism. Tara Jenkins and I here in Portland brought the first chapter here to Maine. And Raj Sisodia, I've read pretty much every book he's written, but Firms of Endearment talks about all of these companies that outperform their competitors on, the S&P and just in their returns. And, why do you love walking in there? Why do I love walking into Patagonia? Right. And so the way it feels to work is palpable. Our senses pick up on that. So we can start to feel whether something has positive energy or overly stressed energy. And I guarantee your customers feel it. If you've got a customer facing unit, your customers feel the stress in your employee's voice. I can feel it if I walk into a store and somebody is like looking at their phone and they don't even say hi. Right? I'm like, maybe I'm not that important, or maybe I don't mind not being bothered. And I'm like, oh, good. You just stay over there while I do my thing. But the sense is that we can begin to feel those things and start to talk about them. Like, geez, this is like, we're feeling kind of stressed in our team. Like when I was at the bank, like I remember walking out one day and there were people crying because a file didn't go through to Toronto. And I was like, oh my God, like that can't be how we're feeling about a file. And it was how we're feeling about a file. And we needed to talk about that and we needed to work on that. And that was kind of how a lot of this whole work started for me. And the second thing is that ignoring being has negatively impacted emotional health, chronic disease, work quality, customer experience, turnover, all these things. We can report on those things. And I'll show it to you in a report visually in a couple minutes here. And we can add being metrics to our profit and loss reports. We can add it into everything that we do. And it's not very big. I apologize, but you will get this as a handout. But we've got systems that we manage as part of business, right? So we're managing our financial systems, we're managing our IT systems. I suggest that we add being systems into our reporting. We talk about energy flow, we talk about cognitive capital, attention management. How are we doing in those things? We have to start adding them into what we're talking about in order for us to pay attention to them. Because again, it's not a program. It's really how we're showing up to work. For operational excellence, we can add the being element into resource management. We add it as cognitive capital. For risk management, it can be energy optimization, right? If I'm not coming to work and I'm not fully energized, I'm a risk, especially in certain fields that are, like construction and my friend, Paul Beaver at Green Care, like if he's got people out working with equipment, he wants them to be awake, right? And so we need to include this in the things that we're managing. And performance systems, all through our performance systems, I have customers that are now adopting being goals. So it can be strategic pause points. Hey, I never used to pause during the day, so I'm tracking that now. I'm pausing 2 and 3 times a day. If we don't track it or measure it, it's often that we're not going to do it, right? We're not going to remember. And collectively, if we do it, I've been involved in behavior change for a long time. Behavior change requires us doing it together. And it's a good thing we're tribal, right? We can find a few friends to do this with, or a team. We can bring in reset protocols and energy alignment. And with our core business operations and integration, we can include it in every aspect. We can have strategic, being mode resets in our decision-making. Think about, you're whiteboarding a brand new product or a service. You get done with your brainstorming and you have a pause for insight emergence. Wouldn't that be beautiful? To just see you just be quiet. You don't know all the answers and you just see what comes through each of you. It's powerful. And for leadership infrastructure, leaders can be embedding this into how they're leading and then how we're managing those leaders with clear mind and strategic pauses and presence in your leadership. Those are things that we can measure and talk about. And I think about really putting it into our P&L. Like we talk, at least in the companies that I've been involved with, so things may have changed. I really haven't been looking at reporting for a couple of years in a granular sense. But when I did, I never saw us rolling all of these being metrics into an area that could be reported on for business. And so if you do, I'd love to hear from you, because I haven't seen it done. But imagine if we put it all into one spot so that you could really see the impact on your bottom line, right? The way we work together impacts our bottom line. And that, to me, is the most important aspect of all of this, is that, I mentioned this statistic a moment ago, 84% of a company's value is created by human capital. And this may be shifting, as AI handles more automated tasks and functions. However, emotional and sensory intelligence is critical in managing AI and managing these tools. So our mindset is our reality. And so I invite you to focus on bringing pause and curiosity and sensory intelligence into your work. And I will open it to questions, because this is important stuff. And you can always reach out to me also on LinkedIn and just start a conversation. So, and you'll be getting my email through the slides, but let's open to questions if there are any. Oh, I love this. I'm just reading a comment, guys, from Malden Events. I just messaged my colleague and said, I'm going to block off time in my calendar to meditate in the office each day. I find that I need accountability. Yay! I love that. Thank you. That's beautiful. Do we have any questions out there? Are you seeing any, Rachel?
Let's see. Let's see. I saw that it's a comment from Gina Coates.
Yes.
I think it was referring back to the image of like the calendar invites, or your loaded calendar. And she was saying, as a team going into 2025, we're prioritizing pauses in our calendar. And that relates to the last comment that you just mentioned. Sometimes you gotta block off time.
That's really it. We have to block off time. And I think, one of the questions that I often get is, I want to do these things, but what if my leadership doesn't want to do these things?
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, let them use that lovely, beautiful new language that is being introduced. Is just let them not care about it, but you can start doing it. Because if you're doing things differently, I know some of us are micromanaged, but if you're doing things differently, it will show in the quality of your work. It will show in how you are presencing. Because when you walk into a room, like now that I've been doing this a while, like sometimes I'll walk in and honest to God, someone will walk up and go, oh, Elizabeth, I feel calmer, right? Because I just remind them of it.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's not anything special that I'm doing, but I remind them of things that they've heard through me. So you can be that. You can be the calm person in the room, and it will get noticed. Or you can just have like the curious, the question, excuse me, instead of the knowing, you can be the person to ask a question, because often, we're not asking questions. We're just, waiting to know the answer to maybe one question that was answered. So the people that might be stuck, I'm just going to answer that question, and thank you we do have a couple. So, and I was just actually answering Kelly's, but for Gianna, I really think that asking somebody to practice with you, like, hey, I just learned this thing and it's making a huge difference for me. You want to try it with me? Like when we do stuff from a place of curiosity instead of knowing, like it's like an aha thing you're sharing. When you do it from that place, that aha place, it's really beautiful. I feel like we can just let somebody try without being judged for it. Like most people, we don't want to try a new thing because we think that we might mess up. right? We might suck at it. And I still mess up. I still like, I'll go a day, I'm like, oh my God, I have not taken a break today. And then I come back, I'll feel what my body does when I'm in this space that's not good is it feels like I've got a tightening in my chest. And now I sense that. And so now I know, okay, when I feel that, I need to just turn away and count to 60 with my eyes shut, right? Or pretend I'm looking at something. Your boss doesn't know if you're just turned away and looking at something for 60 seconds. And then in terms of, thank you for distributing the link. Oh, I love that. Thank you, Kelly. Please distribute the link. And this is about sharing. That's really all I'm championing here. This is open source stuff. If you can take this, if you want me to come into your space and talk about it, I'm happy to do that. And Gretchen, thank you for being here. I see questions around tips and ways to integrate. I have a ton of those of ways of integrating these practices, so I can share those with people if you reach out. I've been creating some visuals and some slide decks that just include different things for different types of jobs, because if I have a client that's down in Kennebunk, and he drives a plow and he listens to opera while he's plowing. And so he just, blasts it because it just helps him calm his nervous system. So it's depending on the kind of jobs, and we can definitely talk about this, Gretchen. There's some really beautiful ways that we can brainstorm. Like when I started Break Together, my first company back in 2016, we would just have brainstorming sessions with people. Like, what can you do in 1 minute to create I have got a whole card deck. We actually handed them out at the chamber. And I still have those card decks. If anybody, all you have to do is pay for the printing and you can use these decks. And it's what you can do in 1, 3, 5, 10, and 15 minute increments while you're at work or while you're at home to get out of the being mode or the doing mode and into the being mode. So hopefully that helps. Thank you.
We have one more
yes.
question from Kim.
Yes.
Let's see. Elizabeth, could we say more about the we versus they opportunities?
Thank you. I love Kim is like another person you should pay attention to in this world. She's just teaching amazing, amazing, amazing things around this exact work. We are sisters in this. And we versus they is that sometimes, like what I said at the very beginning and what I try to end with, that this is about we. This is about us doing these things and bringing these things. It's not about, oh, my manager's not doing this. Our company's not interested in this. Like I said that for years and it was killing me. Like I was so stressed out, you guys, in my previous jobs because I wasn't stepping into my own power. So we versus they means grab a friend, grab a couple people on your team, make this we work, our work. I think even our versus they is even better, right? Like we and our is the language that we need to use around this, not they, because they is othering. They means somebody else has the power. And we have so much more power than we know, and especially when we come together. And so I'm really grateful that we're able to be here together this morning, and thank you for your input in the comments. It's really helpful. We want to make it real.
Cannot agree more with that. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Let's see. Oh, Kim, just before I close things out, Kim said, they focus is so disempowering.
Yes.
Statement.
It's about me. It's about we. It's about us. Yes. Thank you. Completely.
Maybe I will send a couple of my colleagues here at the chamber a meeting invite for meditation.
Yes. Yes.
Tell to pause for 10 minutes.
That's it, you guys. We talk about it and we inspire. Thank you. Please do it. And then, maybe we can do a follow-up session in a few months just to a simple phone call on Zoom or something where people could just really ask questions and we can see how it's going. I'm happy to offer that for free.
Oh, that's wonderful, Elizabeth. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I think I saw Gretchen mention thank you for helping her start off her day already so centered and grounded. And I feel the same way. Things move very quickly here at the Chamber, and it's definitely our job to keep up with them. But certainly I wouldn't be able to if I was constantly in a state of doing,
True.
Yeah, I very much appreciate everything that you reviewed today, and it's really
thank you
helped me reframe the rest of my week, I would say.
Well, and I want to thank Lindsay. You're just a beautiful soul. I appreciate you, and thank you for joining today. And Josh, I love that you're going to be meditating at the Maine Black Chamber of Commerce. I love it. I'd love to come in and join you one day if you guys will have me. So everyone, have a beautiful day ahead, and share these practices.
Yes, what a wonderful way to start 2025. Thank you so much, Elizabeth. We're starting this year off with some new practices, maybe some ones that we knew before, but new energy to practice in this year in the workplace and outside of the workplace in our everyday lives. And also, of course, thank you for carefully answering everyone's questions, giving attention and time to everyone's comments this morning. We really appreciate it.
You are welcome. I'm happy to be here and glad to be part of this beautiful community.
And of course, I'd be remiss if I didn't thank my colleague, Riley this year, the man behind the curtain, for helping to produce yet another successful virtual chamber event here. And last but certainly not least, thank you to everyone who attended this morning and for interacting so much in the chat. If you're interested in continuing the conversation with Elizabeth and learning more, be sure to check your email for a follow-up message with links to additional resources. As Elizabeth mentioned, not only was today's event recorded, but we will also be providing you with presentation slides from her presentation today, and her contact information is in her presentation. So make sure you reach out to her. Of course, I want to give another shout out to our sponsor, Eaton Peabody, for their support of this series. Without it, we couldn't do what we do. The Eaton Peabody Growth Basics for Business series is typically held on the third, sometimes second Tuesday of each month. Join us again next month on February 11th for the Coaching Edge, Groundbreaking Leadership. That is presented by Erica Duramo, founder and CEO of Two Peers Consulting. Erica will explore why organizations like Google, NASA, and the U.S. military are investing in coaching culture as a strategic priority. She'll cover the fundamentals of coaching, the challenges of the advice trap, and the benefits of building a coaching culture within your business or organization. Those who attend will gain insights into the practical steps for fostering coaching skills in leaders and leveraging coaching to enhance organizational performance. If you're interested in presenting at Growth Basics for Business or know of an industry professional who may be interested, please visit our website, portlandregion.com, and submit an event proposal. Any questions, our team's direct contact information can be found there as well. So with that, thank you again for attending today's event. Happy New Year, and we'll see you next month here on Growth Basics for Business.